What's up, YouTubers, and welcome back to Tony the Technician's channel. If you joined me yesterday, I really hope you guys enjoyed the video over the tool rule and borrowing tools. But today is Saturday and my last video before I leave for my DSR internship. So after today, it will be live streamed for almost a month. So stick with me through that, and I hope you guys enjoy that content. But today, we're going to be focusing on my snap-on ratchets and my gear wrench in Pittsburgh and DeWalt. What we're going to do is a little bit different from any of my previous other ratchet videos, and we're going to be taking them apart. We're going to look at the differences, and then I want you guys to inspect my snap-on ratchet to maybe help me out and figure out what's wrong with it. You guys know I got the FL80 and the TL72, which is the 3/8 and 1/4 inch snap-on ratchets. But my 1/4 inch ratchet, yes, it's 72 tooth, but it's really operating roughly, and I don't know why. I've inspected it, it's lubricated, so we're going to look at the components and hopefully we can figure something out. I did talk to the snap-on junkie, and he said it could possibly be one of the springs. So we're going to take a closer look at those, and then after this video, maybe you guys can drop a comment down below of what you guys think. But let's get into this, and I hope you guys enjoy. Hey YouTubers, and welcome back. Today, we're going to be going over these ratchets. These are all 1/4 inch drive ratchets, except obviously this snap-on FL80, which is a 3/8 drive. So I got the snap-on TL72, the Pittsburgh 72 tooth, same thing with the DeWalt 72 tooth. We got the gear wrench roto head ratchet, the gear wrench 84 tooth ratchet, and the gear wrench 120 XP. And we're going to be disassembling a few of these just to kind of compare them to this snap-on TL72. And then we're going to take a closer look at this TL72. The reason being is because snap-on ratchets are some of the smoothest operating ratchets you will ever use. And when I got this ratchet, it is just amazing. Just listen to this and how smoothly it operates. Now there is hardly any back drag to that whatsoever. But with this TL72, granted it is a 72 tooth instead of an 80 tooth, but it still does use the dual 80 technology. But the back drag on it is extremely rough. Really loud mechanism in there. And when I first got it, I could barely turn this with my hand. I mean, it was rough. I did take it apart, make sure it was lubricated, make sure there was nothing broken, didn't see anything, reassembled it, and it works a little bit better. I can at least operate it with my hand with ease, but it's still quite loud. So we're going to take a closer look at that and see if we can find anything wrong with it. But then we'll be taking apart this Pittsburgh, the DeWalt, the gear wrench 84, and the gear wrench 120 XP. We're not going to take apart the roto ratchet. I'm just going to use these to kind of show you this snap-on ratchet operates about as roughly as this gear wrench roto head ratchet. But all of these others operate extremely smoothly with very, very little ease. So here you can kind of tell that the snap-on is pretty loud compared to some of these other ones. So that's why we're going to take a closer look at them. But let me get them disassembled. What you'll need is a T9 Torx, possibly a magnet, and possibly some snap ring pliers for ratchet designs that use C-clips instead of small fasteners. So I'm going to get these disassembled and we'll take a closer look at them. So right off the bat, you can kind of see the differences in the gear mechanisms. We're going to go over these real quickly because I don't want it to be a super long video. And I haven't taken apart the snap-on yet. We're going to save that for last. So keep in mind what these all look like, their designs and everything, and then compare it to the snap-on. But with the Pittsburgh 72 tooth, you have a 72 tooth main gear up here and dual pawls down at the bottom. Then with the DeWalt, you have a 72 tooth main gear and a single pawl down at the bottom. The gear wrench 84 tooth has the 84 tooth mechanism with a single pawl at the bottom. And then the gear wrench 120 XP has a 60 tooth main gear and dual pawls, but instead of being side by side, they're actually stacked on top of each other, and I believe it's 10 teeth engaged with this 60 tooth gear at all times. And then with the 84 tooth, it is just the single pawl, but it does roughly have 10 teeth engaged with the gear. And then same thing with this DeWalt, it is the 72 tooth with many teeth on that single pawl, basically spreading out the torque when you're applying torque to the ratchet, spreading the force through a bigger surface area. Instead of going through, 3 teeth on older ratchets, it's spread out throughout the 10 teeth, so you can apply more torque to a fastener with these newer ratchets. But with the Pittsburgh, you do have a smooth 72 tooth main gear and dual pawls, but if you look closely, each pawl only has 3 or 4 teeth on it. So that torque can only be spread throughout those 3 or 4 teeth, whereas on other ratchets, you get multiple teeth, such as 7 to 10, to spread that torque out a little bit further so you can apply more torque. But that's kind of the designs. The Pittsburgh has the screw fastener holding the plate in. Same thing with the DeWalt. And then the 2 gear wrench have the plate with the snap ring holding it in. But that's basically the differences. I'm not going to fully disassemble them or anything. You can kind of tell the difference in the switching mechanism on each one. This DeWalt has the plate with the 2 ball bearings sitting on top, and then the gear wrench, 84 tooth and 120 XP look very similar, but instead of having the 1 pawl in there, it has this pawl, and then directly below it is an identical pawl, always engaging on this tooth. So that's why I like these gear wrenches so much, for that low arc swing, but still a very strong ratchet. Now I'm going to get these reassembled, and we're going to take a closer look at this Snap-on TL72. Before we disassemble this Snap-on TL72, I do want to mention there are a few different types of lubricants that people like to use on their ratchets. Some people will actually use the CompCam or Lucas assembly lubes for like camshafts and stuff like that, which works really well. And then you got the 3-in-1 oil. A lot of people use this stuff. And then the Lubriplate, a lot of people also use that. Now, when lubricating your ratchets, you really want to look up the manufacturer's recommended lubricant for the ratchet, just in case using the wrong lubricant will actually void your warranty on some ratchets. So be careful with that. But usually with a lower tooth count ratchet such as this Stanley, you can actually use more of a grease or a thicker lubricant, whereas a high tooth count, you would want to use something with a little bit thinner viscosity. You don't want on a high tooth count ratchet like this for a thick grease to be gunking up stuff in here. You want to use something pretty thin. And for the Snap-on recommended lube, it's actually the Super Lube synthetic grease, model number 21030. So if you do own Snap-on ratchets and you want to lubricate them and you want to use what Snap-on recommends, that's the model number right there. But this is an older Stanley. You can see it's a 60 tooth gear. And the old mechanism, it's got 3 teeth. It's a single pawl, 3 teeth engaged on this gear. Really old. I think this is around 10 years old, and I probably haven't used it in, 3-4 years, but I did apply some lubricant in here because it was pretty rusty. I don't know if I'll ever use this ratchet again, but that's the design difference. You can kind of see how this looks, and now we can take a look at the Snap-on ratchet. This is the Snap-on TL72, and it's got 2 fasteners right here that you're going to loosen, and there's going to be spring pressure on the plate due to the spring in the spacer plate for the reverse lever. I'm just going to simply remove that. And here's the design inside the Snap-on Dual 80. You have your gear mechanism or your main gear. Most are 80 tooth. This is a 72 tooth mechanism, and then you got your dual pawls, which is separated by a spring in the middle. As you can see, the difference with the gear wrench, the dual pawls are stacked on top of each other this direction, and with the Snap-on, the dual pawls are side by side. Whereas the gear wrench, you have both pawls that will engage back and forth. This will only use one pawl to engage the gear, or one side of the pawl to engage forward and reverse, but each one of these gears has 7 teeth on it to engage that 72 or 80 tooth main gear mechanism. So to take this apart, basically anytime you're disassembling a ratchet, you want to be careful when removing the plate. There could be springs, ball bearings, pieces connected to springs, and they could shoot out. So just make sure you're very careful and keep track of everything that you disassemble and how you disassembled it. You're going to take the main gear out, then you're going to slide the dual pawls out. These pins on the bottom will be facing down, and then here you have a spring in this spacer plate. You can remove that small spring, And then what you have sitting here is actually a spacer plate, and you might need a magnet to get this out. Now be careful, because in the bottom of here there is a ball bearing. Here you can see it's attached to the spacer plate, so I'm going to go ahead and grab that, kind of set that there, and then I'm going to take the spacer plate, set it exactly how I had it, and then all you have in here is your reverse mechanism, which I'm not going to take out, but you can simply remove that. But as you take a look inside the housing, it is in really good condition, and it was already pre-lubed. I am not going to lube it until I get that recommended lube. It's only like $4, so I'm going to go ahead and order it for the future anyways. But we're going to inspect these components a little bit closer. Let me know down in the comments if you guys see anything wrong with any of these pieces. But the main part being the head, nothing is wrong with the drive. It's got to be something operating in here. It is operating smoothly. Maybe it just needs more time to break in. I don't know. Maybe you guys can help me. I will inspect the springs. If you're watching this Snap-on Junkie, let me know if you notice anything that is out of the ordinary. All of the teeth on here look to be in good shape. Nothing wrong with it or anything like that. Let me know if you guys see anything. Then here we have the dual pulls with the spring in between. The pulls look to be in good condition. The spring doesn't seem bad, but hopefully this will focus. All in all, it doesn't look bad. Maybe it just wasn't assembled correctly. Maybe something was just jamming up inside or not operating the way it was supposed to. Then you have the spacer plate. This is just for switching operations or switching directions. So that's a simple product, or a simple piece. And then you have the spring that holds this ball bearing in. That's for switching directions. You can kind of feel when you hit the on-off side of the ratchet. And this just keeps pressure against the plate. So it seems to be in good condition. Sorry, it's really hard to get focused on the camera. It's a really small spring. Then the backing plate with this, guys, with the Snap-on ratchets, you do actually have a rubber seal on the back of here, so if your ratchet is old, you can actually replace that seal. I don't think any of my other ratchets actually have seals like that, so that is one thing that Snap-on does a really good job of, because the last thing you want is condensation or moisture to get inside your ratchet. If it's not well lubricated, it can get rusty, and over time ruin your ratchet, and you'll have to rebuild it. But hopefully you guys were able to see kind of the components and a good view of it. Maybe you guys could see anything wrong with it. I'm going to go ahead and get it assembled real quick. We're going to start with the spacer plate. You just pick a side, slide that in there, and then you're going to take your very small ball bearing and you're going to drop it down in that hole. Boop. There she is, right in this hole right here. And then your spring is what's going to hold that in place. So once you get that, you're going to take your tooth mechanism. I'm going to go this way with it. We're going to set that tooth in there with those teeth facing down. Then we're going to slide our gear in. There you go. Then you're going to take that spring, you're going to put it above where you put that ball bearing at, so it sits in there like that. And then you're just going to simply take your backing plate, set it down on top of that spring, compress it, go ahead and get your screws started and tighten those up. Don't go crazy tightening them down. They don't need to be torqued all ridiculously, just nice and lightly. Okay, YouTubers, so that is the Snap-on Ratchet TL72 reassembled. Real easy, not a lot of components, just make sure to keep track of them. Very simple process in, lubricating ratchets. Their designs differ a little bit, but all in all, they're all pretty easy to work on. Just keep track of your parts. We've inspected it now, so if anybody has seen anything that was out of the ordinary with this ratchet, please let me know. Now, it's not binding or anything like that. It's not jamming up. The reverse lever operates really well. So if you guys do this job and your reverse lever doesn't line up with the on-off marks, you've assembled the ball bearing and spacer plate incorrectly, so just go back in there and assemble it correctly and make sure that the reverse mechanism operates correctly. We're not having any jamming or anything with the ratchet. It's just, I don't know, maybe I'm just not used to the 72 tooth mechanism, whereas on the FL80, it's a 80 mechanism, and it operates really smoothly. But if you guys think there's any issue, please let me know, and that's it. So YouTubers, today we went over a couple different designs of these ratchets. You can kind of see the difference in mechanisms and tooth counts and how different companies set up their ratchets. And then we disassembled the Snap-on TL72 and took a closer look at that. Hopefully you guys could kind of see something. I know it's very small parts, so it's hard to get focused on those things, but if you guys know of any reason why this ratchet wouldn't be operating as smoothly, maybe it's just me, maybe that's the way it operates. Maybe I just got to get my hands on another TL72 and check it out and see if it operates the same way. But if you guys think there's an issue or you know what's wrong with it, please let me know. Thank you, Snap-on Junkie, for the heads up. I didn't necessarily see anything wrong with the springs, but maybe you did. Maybe I don't know exactly what I'm looking at. If you did, please leave a comment down below. Thank you so much. Thank you guys all so much for watching. And like I said, this is my last video before I go to DSR. So stay tuned for my live videos, and I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you guys so much, and I'll see you guys next time.